The three of us were sitting in the Nanjing airport after coming onto the site to figure out how we're going to do this. And I'm sketching away and I'm just thinking about, in those scroll paintings, there's no vanishing point. And Young Ho was telling me about parallel perspective, right?
Yeah.
And you were giving it to me from your Chinese knowledge. And then Lee and I were doing this building together. We collaborated on the whole building. So this gave me the confidence to do the work, because if I wasn't 2/3 Chinese, I couldn't do it. And we started with the courtyard. The first drawings were about the courtyard. You can see the way the landscape is organized in these parallel perspective walls, creating conditions where there's not really the sense of a vanishing point, but there's a kind of sense of warping the space. You see the actual distant landscape as a kind of horizon, and between that end wall and this wall, that's where the water gardens are sliding through in the space. This is all about parallax, the body's movement through space. So it's very important that bamboo is a horizontal texture, because that's giving more emphasis on the condition of the walls and different conditions of space. The slope of the land naturally comes down to these water gardens. So this is all recycled water, which is also the rainwater of the project. And you can see that the walls then that are forming the garden gradually turn into the building itself. And this wall, as it reaches this crest, it starts going down the other way. So this is confounding your idea of where the vanishing point is. It gives you a feeling of mystery about the space. It's not really clear, what's parallel to what, without being overt. The thing has to be subtle, because it has to be related to the height of the body and which plane that you see when you're walking at 5 feet 6. So it's something that this had to be worked out on the site. We had to actually position these walls while standing and manipulating the space on the site. That was the only way it could be done. The concept of the building of this black and white and this bamboo form and the parallel walls works in a way to organize space all the way around the building. So what happens now is this landscape, this wonderful new piece of art of this quite large field, comes down to an edge, but the edge isn't quite yet the building, because there's an edge of bamboo against a freestanding wall, which also creates a space, an anti-space, a before space, before you get to the condition of the parallel perspective. A place of reflection about art should be a place about reflection about the spiritual dimension of life. And that's probably more easily done with the silence and the natural sounds of the landscape than the cacophony of an urban environment. So this museum exists in the landscape, and also we extend the feeling of the art in sculpture in the gardens, around it. The condition of space isn't exactly box-like, but it is more or less orthogonal. That gives a good background for the art. In this building, we tilted everything that continues the parallel perspective condition of the courtyard into the building itself in a way that connects the above and the below in a continuous feeling of spatial flow. So now we're going in the leg of the building that has an elevator that brings us up to the gallery above, which is a sort of lantern. The space in the upper gallery is very directed. In a way, it's like a linear line that moves, turns slightly down, comes around, and then all the structural forces are being taken up in this steel frame. So we have a gallery exhibition wall on one side and this paper lantern wall on the other side. For art and architecture, it's a museum that was designed without knowing what was going to go in it. So right from the beginning, when we started this 10 years ago, I thought of a museum about space. A museum that could, let's say, experiment with the difference between what we knew in the 13th century, which was perspectival space, and the Chinese knew it, but refused it and kept making parallel perspective. And so the whole lower experience in this museum is about parallel perspective, and that parallel perspective not having a vanishing point. While the whole upper experience here is about not only a vanishing point, but the distant view. And that distant view goes right back to the city of Nanjing.